30th birthday. It's not easy to live. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Without revenue, there is no state. It's not a unique trait of Kenya. I'm talking globally. And it's not just in current times. Even in the time of Jesus, those of you who read either the Bible or the Quran, you'll have noticed where the citizen is being encouraged to finance the state. Because without taxes, there is no state. And I'll come back to this point as I finish my remarks. The second thing that is also perhaps not as obvious to all of us in the Republic is that KRA, or perhaps let me be more specific, when we say customs, it is customs and border control. And border control is a security function about what and who comes to this republic and what it means for the safety of the citizens of this republic. I said to you again, without these functions, there is no state. So it's a profound honor for me, and I think for all of us, to be here to celebrate 30 years of KRA, 3 decades of remarkable service and commitment to building our nation and its future. It's a wonderful milestone, but it's not just about the institution itself. It's about the extraordinary men and women who breathe life into KRA every single day. And reflecting on that journey, we must take pride in the milestones achieved by successive cycles of leadership. From the Secretariat that Winnie has so eloquently described, through the transformation to automated systems, to current work at digital transformation. And each era has left legacy, and legacy of progress. Over these years, each board, each commissioner general, each leadership team has contributed to the KRA we see today. An institution that is resilient, that is adaptive, that is central to Kenya's economic stability.
Ladies and gentlemen, you work for KRA. How do you feel when we keep on telling you to be people of integrity, to collect revenue and remit it without compromising your morals? And when you finish, the money is with us, and we give it out to be spent, and you see people blatantly stealing it. Would you be happy? That is why, as we put efforts and ask you that you remain men and women of integrity, that you employ those systems that would ensure efficiency, transparency, and accountability. So is a demand that those of us who are charged with the responsibility of expending the very revenue that you collect must also equally employ fair, transparent, accountable, and cost-effective systems that would ensure prudent use of the resources that we collect. And that is why the government insists that we must, and we have no choice about it, we must automate all our systems. And expenditure, more particularly procurement, has been lagging behind. Almost over 90% manual. That this must also be automated so that we can improve efficiency. I know there is pushback. I know there is resistance. But I will tell you, That was expected. What will make it work is the will and the commitment of the leadership of this country. That you can see the resistance against e-procurement. We all live in this country. We know. If you see tender in the government, that is what they say here in the streets. And I've been a street person, and I'm still one. I listen, I hear. If you don't know who knows who, if you don't know someone who knows someone in government, don't waste your time. That is what they are saying. You will not get that tender. It's already decided. And what does that mean? There is a markup. There is money that we should not pay as a country, but we pay because someone wants to manipulate the system to profit themselves. Manual systems can never be transparent. Manual systems can never be efficient. And this talk of it can't work, where is it coming from? And you know the people who are saying it can't work have never even tried. If we can print, our passport has been digitized and is accepted worldwide. It's a security document. We are printing it here locally. And you're telling us that we cannot procure through an e-procurement? We cannot procure digitally? That it is unconstitutional, what? Which is this constitution which is supporting corruption? That's not the constitution that I campaigned for in 2010. That's not the constitution that I read, that I took a whole weekend to understand before it was passed. Our constitution calls for transparency. Article 227, clear, telling the government, the implementers, to make sure that a system that is fair, transparent, accountable, and cost-effective is implemented. And asks you to pass legislation. And the legislation was passed, Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. Thank God it was passed when I was in Parliament, 2015. And in that act, you read from section 49 all the way to 64. It talks nothing else but electronic procurement system. And then it gives rise to regulations. Again, I thank God I was in Parliament in 2020 when regulations were passed. And Regulation 49 actually conditions you as a default procurement method to e-procurement. So when I hear, and for even's sake, I've been a member of Parliament for 17 years. When I hear someone saying that there was no public participation, all this document went through public participation. You can't be asking public every time you want to do everything. That now I want to buy biro pens. Public, can you approve it? The public has already approved regulations, which again has approved electronic procurement system. Then now when somebody wants to issue a circular, you want the public again to be involved. Then why did the public give me this job? Because they gave it to me through the elected representatives who vetted me. During my vetting, let me make you laugh. During my vetting, one of the outstanding reforms that I pledged I would support to deliver to the people of Kenya was e-procurement. And the committee members of Parliament praised me for that. His Excellency the President, while giving the last State of the Nation address, gave National Treasury up to July to implement e-procurement. And I remember members of Parliament clapped very hard. In fact, I think they even stood under their seats. And I was watching from the dais. And I took note as a faithful servant of the people of Kenya that I'm going to do that. When I announced on April 7th April, that we are going to have e-procurement, no one raised a finger. That was public participation. What can be more public participation than that? Official launch at what do we call it? Kenya School of Government. Then, again, on 12th of June, before 12th of June, I went across the country. You saw me at Jivanji. And at Jivanji, I was very clear. I told those people there, and Kenyans were watching, that we will implement e-procurement, because they were asking me, you are collecting so much money from us. How come we don't see value for it? People are stealing it. I guaranteed them that that theft will be minimized, reduced to minimal, because we are going to implement e-procurement. And they clapped. Those who are Kenyan, public participation. Public participation, extensive one, at Jivanji, daytime. Finally, when I went to Parliament on 12th of June to read my budget speech, one of the key reforms was e-procurement. Again, my former colleague, members of Parliament, clapped for me. How, again, this has turned out to be unconstitutional, lack of public participation, I can only guess that self-interest has now come in. And to me, that is not something I'm going to accept. And I want to conclude. I'm not going to accept it because this system, from the brief, even this morning, that's the meeting I had before I came here, the system is working, my friend. It will work.